Welcome to Skip versus Ernestine. This is round 7. Welcome to the hottest new show on YouTube. Welcome to our crazy home life, our nonstop arguing right here out in front of the world, on camera instead of behind closed doors. She's from New York. I'm from Oklahoma City out there in Covered Wagonville.
Covered Wagon Land.
Yeah. And as always, we are refereed by our quote-unquote daughter, Hazel, our 8-year-old Maltese. She's looking a little ragged.
She's a little
needs a
scruffy
bath.
today.
Yeah.
Needs a bath.
She's from Burbank out here in L.A. She's a valley
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do appreciate hugely all of your questions, all your comments. So for once, let's start with one of your questions. This is Doug from Chandler, Arizona, who asks, are the two of you and Hazel all safe from the fires? Praying for Los Angeles. Thank you, Doug. So you want to start on how
the fires happened after we taped our show.
Yes.
So we could not address the fires, but
No.
it has been horrific, as everyone knows. And we live about 6 miles from the heart of the fire.
maybe 5.
5 miles. And
Yeah, just so you get LA, we're down in what are called the flats. So we're kind
near
of on
Beverly Hills,
level ground,
which is-
Century City. And the fires mostly take place in the hills, what look like mountains to me, starting with, unfortunately, Pacific Palisades,
Yeah.
where we have a lot of friends. I play golf at Brentwood Country Club, which is right there. Hazel, you got to stop. You got to stop. She's been keyed up all week because
she's
of the
jacked
fires.
up over the fires and the pollution that you smell from
Yeah.
the fires, because
So,
it's really terrible.
You know, we have been devastated because we're right on the edge of this, but we're not in this.
No, well,
In
thank
that-
God. But
I just happened to be playing golf last Tuesday morning at Brentwood Country Club, which is just right there at the base of the foothills that caught fire. And all of a sudden on my golf cart at Brentwood, they flash up a message that one of the canyons is on fire. And I looked up and I saw like a mushroom cloud of smoke. This was at 10:30 in the morning on Tuesday. And this happens fairly regularly. And
when it's
so,
dry, because there has not been rain since May.
Yeah.
So when it gets dry here,
and the Santa Ana winds
and
blow.
the winds blow.
And at that point, I happened to be playing the 5th hole at Brentwood, which was straight into the wind, and it was galing. It was blowing so hard that it was close to unplayable.
it was
And
about 50, 60 mile an hour winds.
And when we got to the green on number 5, it was so covered with debris that had just blown willy-nilly from trees and all across the golf course. It was unputtable. So that was my first indication. And then we have so many friends.
And you called one of your friends who said, my house is on fire right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I did. It was one of my golf partners who couldn't play that morning because he was so afraid of what was happening.
Yeah.
And he sent me a picture, and the house just behind them was just up in flames, and it was coming for his house.
Yeah.
So obviously many of our friends got evacuated, and several lost their homes. And yet, what was even more devastating to me is that by the evening, all of a sudden, there's the Altadena fire, which you don't know LA that well, but I know Pasadena, Altadena. We shot a commercial for Undisputed over in Altadena at a cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And it was even more devastating to me, as many friends as we have, because a lot of those homes, not to minimize the psychological scarring and damage done in Pacific Palisades, but the Altadena fire took the homes of so many people who can't afford to lose their homes.
It's terrible. Well, because people know about Malibu and Pacific Palisades because it's Starland. It's where a lot of A-list celebrities live, but outside of the A-list celebrities, there are just regular day-to-day people that live there as well, but also in the other areas that were affected, that they don't have multiple homes and this is their house.
Yeah.
They've worked their whole life for, and it's just so awful and terrible. And the animals that were displaced and running in the streets. And
so here's what shook me up was that I grew up in tornado land in the state of Oklahoma. It always used to come in the springtime, Tornado Alley, and tornadoes would touch down. And when I was a senior in high school, one touched down on the block behind us. Right. And the next morning on the way to school, I went over and I saw 3 houses leveled to the ground. I saw a Mustang, a 1965 Ford Mustang, in a living room, picked up and replaced by the tornado. And the 4th house was perfectly intact.
But that's what happened here.
That's exactly what happened.
Some of those homes in Pacific Palisades.
I want to talk about Mother Nature.
Standing, and the whole entire block was wiped out.
Yeah, like the whole block could be wiped out, and then 3 homes over here would be pristine. Like, I'm sure they had smoke damage, but they had no fire damage that we could see. And it was so weird that this could happen.
Fate. I mean, it's just
and then
no rhyme or
we had
reason.
Friends say that they were having to pay extraordinary amounts of money to independent contractors to come in and spray all the houses in a cul-de-sac with fire retardant to repel the flames as they approached. And at least they could afford to do that. There were people to the east who could not afford
that.
And then we sat on, I'm losing track of the nights, it was Thursday night, and there was a random fire in Studio City, of all places, and a 4-story home, this was the showcase of the night, caught fire from flying embers.
There was one in West Hollywood.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about Studio City.
Oh, no. You're doing West Hollywood.
Up in the Hollywood Hills.
Okay, but remember over the hill down in Studio City where we went to a party one time at the dermatologist's house. It randomly caught fire, and it burned to the ground on live TV, all 4 stories. It looked like it could be like a sort of apartment/duplex type arrangement.
But it's the embers.
Yeah, and then they flew, and then there was a spot fire over here.
Just would fly.
And we would sit for hours at night watching the fires raging all around us, wondering, could they reach us? So
I was really scared.
She was really scared.
Well, how do you know?
I am married to the female Woody Allen, hypochondriac,
I am.
And
I
always
admit it, and there's always something that could happen, and just when you get through one thing,
always thinking of the worst. So that Thursday going into Friday night, she couldn't sleep at all.
Well, you don't know. I mean, just because there are buildings around doesn't mean that a fire can't happen where you live.
We live in a gated community, and it does have a small sort of man-made forest in the middle of it. It's just
there are just trees around, and there are trees though on the block.
Because
there's trees everywhere.
The fires start in the foresty areas up in the hills where the winds are stronger.
But I did see on the news this morning that they think it may have started way back with the Pacific Palisades, that there were fireworks.
So they shot fireworks on the 4th of July, and it started a small fire, and the embers glowed and burned. They weren't completely put out.
No.
And then when the Santa Ana winds happened, it only takes a small spark to fly, and all of a sudden, forest fires are raging.
That's possible cause.
Yeah. And the classic cliche, spread like wildfire, it was all too true for us. And I had to try to talk her back in off the ledge because she's out looking, waiting for the fire to hit us.
The winds were 80 miles an hour hitting against the glass of our living room. I thought the building was breaking.
That was true. We're watching, especially the Studio City fire. The winds were hitting the panes in our living room so hard they were creaking.
It sounded
like they were going to snap.
Yeah. But then when I went over to the window, I heard it was coming from above, where the ceiling is with heavy concrete. And then I said to you, do you think the concrete's going to break? How do you know? You know nothing. You're just Mother Nature can just take you out in 1 second.
In 1 second.
Yeah.
And we've had so many friends text us, "Are you safe?
Yeah.
Are you okay?"
People don't know because they don't. It's like during 9/11. I lived through 9/11 in New York City. And when I would travel after 9/11, people that lived in, when I went to Hawaii or I went to California, unless you're there in the moment, you don't really get the magnitude. People say, "Oh yeah, that 9/11, it was hard, right?" You have no idea. I worked right in Times Square. I saw the whole buildings burning downtown. People running on 6th Avenue for their life, not knowing what was going on. So unless you're in that moment at that location, you don't know.
Yeah. We felt guilty because so many people were asking us if we're okay, when we are okay,
Yeah.
except as small, and we're not complaining about this, the air went completely foul.
No, I was wearing KN95s when I walked, masks, but then I heard this morning on the news, KN95s would not protect you from the tiny, tiny particles that would get into your lungs, and the only mask that would be good would be the mask with the 2 ventilators, one on each side, but that's if you were really standing next to the fire. But these reporters, the whole time, they're standing right where the fire is with the smoke. And these people are amazing. They're reporting so we know what's going on, and they're risking their life. So you have the fire people risking their life. You have the reporters risking their life. And these poor people have nowhere to go now.
So we have had a hellacious time getting homeowners insurance where we live.
They cancel you immediately if you live in California.
Yeah, we can't successfully explain to the various companies we try to get insurance from that, hey, we're down in the flats.
They don't care.
So we don't have that much of a fire
mudslides and fire
risk, and we don't have mudslides. We do have earthquakes, obviously, that's going to affect everybody, but not.
You're not in the heart of where it most likely will hit, Malibu.
Yeah.
The areas that are more susceptible.
So by Saturday, we felt wearing masks that it was just okay if we ventured out, as we always do on Saturday. We take her up to Century City Mall, which is nearby where we live. Mm-hmm. It's usually a parade of people with their dogs. Yeah. It's outdoor mall. It's a great mall. And
it was quiet.
It was very quiet and very subdued, and people were walking like zombies
with masks on.
With masks on, because I think they all felt a little guilty about having a frolic at the mall on Saturday when within 5 miles homes are still burning to the ground.
Yeah.
You know. And then Brentwood got threatened on Sunday, and all of our friends over there are still evacuated, and many just took off and left LA. Went to Florida, went to Palm Springs, where the winds are still high in Palm Springs, but there's no threat, at least for now, of fire.
But the winds are supposed to be high today, 70 mile an hour winds.
So the risk and threat is high alert. Yeah. And we still could have some issues where we live, unfortunately. Okay.
Those were natural disasters.
So
we've had some of our own disasters.
We have. Speaking of crises.
Not on the same level.
Not remotely on the same level.
But to add some lightness to this craziness.
These are some home accidents that we have barely lived through. And again, it's not to the level of losing our house or our lives, though in both incidents, they had potential to be life-threatening.
They could.
And both for us were definitely horrifying. But the first happened during the pandemic when I had COVID for the first time, I believe.
You had it for the first time.
And she is
I had never had
out of her mind about COVID.
Yeah.
And she had not had it.
No, and I did not want it.
She was horrified that I had it. It was like I had leprosy.
Well,
and so
I didn't want to get that from you. Why should I?
I was confined to quarters,
you were
right?
Quarantined
I
in your
was
room.
Quarantined in my room.
He couldn't even see Hazel.
I couldn't see Hazel.
I kept Hazel away from him. Well, I don't know if you can get, the dog can get COVID.
Because you are the COVID queen.
I am the COVID queen.
And she is constantly campaigning for masks and against any COVID.
That is me.
So I would have to prep for my show. I didn't miss a show. I just did it from home.
Yeah.
And I am in my room one night. I'm actually lying across the bed,
I think it was a Sunday.
No, it couldn't have been a Sunday. No,
I thought
it was
you
a
were prepping
weeknight.
for Monday.
No.
Oh, it was a weeknight?
It was a
you were
weeknight.
watching basketball. I think,
Yeah,
right?
but I was just scribbling notes for Undisputed.
Yeah.
And I was prepping for my podcast. It was Tuesday night.
Okay, it was Tuesday.
So I'm prepping.
Right.
And out of the blue, it's deathly quiet. I hear, "Oh my God, I cut off my finger." That's what you yelled.
I did say that.
"Oh my God, I cut off my finger."
Right.
Screamed it.
Right.
Hazel's
getting excited because she remembers that.
Remembers that
She
moment.
remembers that
Because
night.
it was chaos. Hey. You
I'll
gotta
just
wait.
quiet her with
You
a
gotta
little
wait.
snack.
Okay, a little.
Hang on. There we go. There we go. Oh,
Okay.
it's okay. Hazel.
Okay.
It's okay. There we go. That's good.
You're good. So I am stuck in my room thinking, my wife just cut her finger off in the kitchen. It's just around the corner from my room.
Here we go.
My
There
office.
I was making a lean cuisine pizza, and I had a jar of those little jars of spices. I think it was red pepper flakes, and it was brand new, and it had the plastic around the round part. So I took a scissor. I had bought a brand new scissor, and I took the scissor and I cut it around, and it slipped and it cut my hand right there.
With a scissor.
With the scissor.
I
thought I was so out of it. I thought I was cutting the pizza with a pizza cutter, those little pizza cutters. I thought I cut it with the pizza cutter, but it really didn't matter at that moment because the kitchen, which is white, which many people have seen our kitchen because that's where he throws his jersey in the garbage can all the time. It's white and it has little yellow accents, but the cabinets are white. The cabinets turned red with blood that was flying all over. It was like a massacre.
No
it was
exaggeration.
As if it was a massacre.
So I am faced with the ultimate dilemma, knowing her.
Right. So I'm yelling. I think I cut my finger off. Oh my God!
You didn't say I think.
Well, I said, oh my God! I cut my finger off.
And so I have to decide: am I going to break quarantine rules and just bolt out of my room? And I said, I have no choice.
So he comes running out of the room. And Hazel now is running around crazy because she sees him. She hasn't seen him in 5 or 7 days. And he's standing there in his basketball shorts and a T-shirt. And I'm saying, go back in your room. You have COVID. But my finger is bleeding all down my arm.
No exaggeration. Blood is everywhere.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
It's all over the floor. It's all over the countertop.
The carpet.
Well, we didn't get to the carpet because you weren't there yet.
Yeah,
you hadn't left the kitchen yet. And I said, what are we going to do?
Call the doctor.
I'm going to call the doctor.
Right. So we have a doctor who's a friend of ours, too. And you called the doctor.
I called, and in maybe a 1,000,000,000 shot, he answered his cell phone. What doctor ever answers his cell phone on the first shot?
Night. It was like 7 o'clock, wasn't it?
It was like 7.
Maybe even later, 8 o'clock
or
something like that.
And by the way, in those days, I was getting up at 2 a.m.
Right.
So I said, we've got a situation.
Major situation.
And I couldn't see because you were holding your hand.
Well,
and I thought you'd actually cut your finger off.
So did I.
And I'm looking for the finger. And I said, she thinks she cut her finger off. And he said, okay, don't panic.
And then he said, Ernestine, can you find the finger?
Yeah.
And I was just like, am I going to die? Am I going to die?
She thinks she's going to die. And
there's so much blood. I don't even know.
And Dr. Cole said, it's okay.
Right.
I'm going to call St. John's Hospital emergency room, which is his home hospital, right? Has deep connections there. And they will be ready for you when you arrive at the emergency room to treat it.
Right.
And if it requires surgery, reattachment.
That was my biggest fear, that I would have to have something reattached. And I was the blood was so bad that I thought I was losing blood, that I was going to pass out. Yeah. I really did. It was horrible.
Okay, so then
you called my sister.
I called Joyce, and said, "Could you please come? Because here we went again." Well,
he's got COVID, and he can't.
I've got COVID,
back in
and
the days when nobody goes out.
I definitely can't go to the hospital with COVID because they would string me up. Right.
No, this was when you did not go anywhere, when you had COVID.
And plus, I'm always under fire from her about the show comes first. And here was the classic case of, I do have to prep for my show.
Of course, that of course would happen. Yes.
So it took Joyce.
So my sister
10
drove
minutes
over
to drive over,
like 100 miles an hour. She lives maybe 3 miles away, 2 miles away, and she said that she drove over without her glasses on, which normally she has her glasses. So she's driving like Mr. Magoo driving. She can't see where she's going. Finally, I'm in pajamas because I wore my pajamas. I was going to settle in for the night. I had my pajamas on, and then I figured I can't wear my pajamas to the hospital. I have to get clothes on. So I put sweatpants on, I think.
And then she tried to put her Uggs on, but she couldn't pull them up. And she said, could you help me? I got COVID.
A coat because it was cold. So I said to him, can you help me? So we're in the hallway. So he says, well, come over here. And the dog is just running, having fun. Hazel's in
You
skips.
shouldn't call her a dog. You
don't
offend
call her a dog.
me and you offend her because she's not a dog.
So, no, she's not. She's a human.
Yeah.
She's inside where Skip was watching the game, and she's so happy because she hasn't been in there. She's jumping on the couch and the bed, and she's just having a grand old time. So he helped me, and
I'm trying to pull
he's trying
the
to help me
Uggs
pull
on.
my Uggs, and he pushes me on the carpet.
And
so
she
I
falls.
fall on the carpet with
And
my arm. Blood is everywhere.
Everywhere on the carpet.
Yes.
All over the carpet.
It was
Seriously.
Yes, and we have a light gray carpet.
As it turned out, she actually
I nicked an artery.
But it was gushing blood.
But it was as if I cut off my finger.
Okay, but she had not cut her finger off.
No.
She cut the palm of her hand.
No, I cut here. It was in between my two fingers.
Sort of the...
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Yeah, right there. Now I can't. It's hard to remember what. I think it was this one. Anyway, so my sister arrives. We drive to the hospital, and I remember saying to Joyce, "Do you think it's really that bad?" And she said, she looked at me, and there was blood streaming down my hand and my arm, and she said, "No, I think it's okay." And meanwhile, she said, "I was horrified to look at you because there was so much blood." So we get to the hospital. They take me right into the hospital, into the emergency room, and I am freaking out. I've never been this freaked out to the point where my teeth were chattering. I literally was a piece of ice, and my teeth were chattering that I could not stop. I couldn't make words. So the doctor came out and he said, "Okay, let's just wrap you up like the way you're going to look like a fighter, a boxer." And he wrapped my hand and my arm up, and they finally took me in after, I guess it was like an hour, 2 hours or something like that. And he came over and he said, "You need stitches." And the female doctor came over and she said, "I think you need about 6 or 7. Meanwhile, my sister calls you, and he's like, "I'm prepping for the show. Is
once I
everything
heard
okay?"
the finger was not cut off,
then there's no
then
use
it's
for,
just
don't worry
a
about
cut
it.
with a few stitches.
Yeah,
we're going to be
nothing.
okay,
Yeah,
right?
Right. But
okay, but I did need to hear the outcome. This took a while to get the complete outcome.
Right.
So
outcome of it.
instead of going to sleep by 9 or 9:30, I went to sleep at maybe 11 to get up at 2.
That's just a couple of late games for you.
Yeah, just a couple of late
that's
games.
Not a big
See,
deal.
I made a huge sacrifice because
Right.
I thought her
Thank
finger
God he
was
had
cut
COVID.
off.
Otherwise, he'd have to actually drive him to the hospital, and then you would be really at a loss because then there was a chance you'd have to take off the next day.
So
but you would probably go even with 1 hour sleep.
I would go with 1 hour. I would go with no hours.
No hours sleep. That's fine.
But in the end, you didn't get COVID from me, even though I was still highly contagious.
No, but I was more afraid I was going to get COVID from the hospital.
Yeah.
Because those were the days when you go to the hospital, you risk getting COVID.
That's true.
And they were putting blankets on me, and I was like, "Oh, God, am I going to get COVID from the blanket?" But I was so spaced out anyway. I really thought they were going to have to bring me into surgery and reattach my hand. That's what I really thought.
Hypochondria.
I am not. He is the hypochondriac.
I am not.
Oh, my God, every 2 minutes there's something new with you. My leg is killing me from running.
It. Well, I iced it.
My
I put
back.
stuff
Do you
on
know?
it.
I need another ice pack for my back. I come up with valid reasons of why hypochondria.
But I'm actually hurt.
Well, you're always hurt. That's what I'm saying. You're
I live
hypochondriac. You're always hurt.
I work out too much.
That means you're always hurt, but there's always hypochondria going on there.
There's not hypochondria. It's the truth. I'm not imagining. You imagine.
I'm not a hypochondriac.
Well,
except
you always
when
fear
things
the worst.
Well, if something happens, I fear the worst. It's not that
oh my
I just
God,
sit
do I
around
have
thinking
cancer?
about.
I don't think so.
Well, God
Knock on wood.
forbid. I mean,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, please
Whatever.
is right.
Whatever.
So you got in the webbing of your, between your thumb and forefinger, you got 7 stitches. Right?
But how did I know?
All was good. Right?
Then I came home, and
That
my sister came up, and she said, "I will help you." It was midnight, 12:30,
Yeah.
which I was in New York City. I probably would have still been there waiting for the hospital.
You would have.
Because I
This
have
was
been to
great.
hospitals in New York City as an emergency, and you'd seriously wait in the emergency room probably 7 to 8, 9 hours between their gunshot wounds and heart attacks. And
Yeah. See, there is some good to LA, right?
You can go to a hospital faster.
Okay.
And my sister helped clean up the cabinets.
Oh, they
Joyce.
came back
Yeah, I had
while
a
I was
bagel.
sleeping.
Yeah, it was
from
12:30.
12:30. So when I woke up, I was shocked to find you were
Presto.
gone, and presto changeo,
Right.
there was no blood
My sister
except for
wiped up all
the
of
carpet was stained with red.
But then
We
we
got
cleaned
it
that.
cleaned,
Yeah,
right?
we cleaned that. That was fine.
And we all survived, which brought
Right.
us to the next incident that happened on a day when I was weirdly off. I think we didn't
You
have
had
a
to
show.
take a Friday off or something.
Yeah, there was some Friday off,
Yeah,
and it was
maybe
in
you
the
had some
summertime.
other show had preempted your show.
I don't know why, but I was here. But
Because normally he would be gone at 4 a.m.
yeah,
But it was 6 a.m. and I normally would get up around 5:30. And the minute I get up, I take Hazel, and we have a terrace outside that she uses to go pee on, where she pees with her leg up. And
up always.
and
boy pee.
I took her out. I opened up the screen door, and we have a security alarm system, the kind that you punch in numbers. And I forgot to punch in the numbers.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, the alarm was blaring. And I thought, oh, no, he's going to wake up. That was my first thought. Considerate that I am. Oh, God, he's going to wake up. So I quickly turned to run to shut the alarm off. And my foot, I had sneakers on, twisted and fell on the carpet. We have runners in the kitchen on both sides of the
carpet,
aisle.
yeah.
Just runners, carpet
Yeah.
runners. And I went smack down in front of the refrigerator with my nose. Now, I don't have a small nose. It's obvious to see.
On a hardwood floor.
God gave me a bigger nose, and I did not have plastic
It's
surgery.
pretty.
So anyway, I hit the ground with my nose, and I actually saw the linoleum or whatever it was with my eyes. I could see. It was like I was swimming underwater, but it was actually the floor. And when I got up really fast, blood was just pouring all over me. And I was like Carrie, that movie Carrie, when she stands at the prom, and she's full of blood when the bucket goes over her. I have blood all over me. And Hazel's running around. She's happy. And I'm like, oh, my God, I broke my nose. So I burst into his room because he sleeps in another room during the week. And he's sound asleep. And I'm saying, Skip, Skip. And I run over to the bed and I shake him, Skip. And he turns and he goes, what? I go, look at my nose. I'm bleeding. He's like, what? What happened? I said, I broke my nose. There you go.
And I jumped up and I was worried about head injury.
Oh, yeah. You were.
As were you.
Yeah,
And
I didn't know
so
if I hit my head.
We brought you into the living room and put you on the recliner.
And you did get me an ice pack.
Yeah, I got you an ice pack. Good husband that I am.
You did. He's a wonderful husband.
But
And I
I'm
sat on the
going-
recliner chair,
Yeah.
putting my head back, which I then found out was the worst thing to do because when you're bleeding, the blood can go back and it could get into your lungs. So the worst thing you do when you have a nosebleed is put your head back. You're supposed to pinch your nose going forward. That would stop. That's
So
what Dr.
her
Feruz
biggest
told us.
fear, hypochondriac fear,
Right, here I am
was
again.
I have a head injury. I have a concussion.
I've got brain
and-
damage.
Brain damage.
Who doesn't
so
think of that?
I sat and talked to you for 15 minutes.
Yeah, and my nose
And
started to swell,
it
and I was
did.
still bleeding. It was still bleeding.
And yet, the more I talked to you,
Mhm.
the more I realized you were totally clear-headed.
Dr. Skip.
Well, I
Dr.
just
Skip.
I
Listen,
I
you have this.
diagnosed. My prognosis was
Right. Uh-huh.
I did want to be a doctor at one point, but
Yeah.
it was crystal clear to me
That I had my
that your
sense.
head was crystal clear. Like there was
Yeah,
no issue
yeah,
at
no.
all. With,
I guess
with
I didn't
the
hit my
injury.
head, but maybe I did. I don't know. I hit my nose. My nose, because it was bigger, landed my head,
So-
saved my head.
Right away, she's getting black eyes under both.
And my nose, it was like that Brady Bunch when Marcia gets hit and she says, oh, my nose, when he throws the football and her nose just starts spreading. That's exactly, my nose was getting bigger than it is. And there it is. There's a big nose.
I don't know the Brady Bunch, but
Well,
whatever.
you were studying or something. I don't know what you were doing. But everybody out there knows that Brady Bunch episode when Marcia gets hit in the face with the football.
So I'm like, from old sports injuries, just rub a
He
little
uses
dirt on it and
everything in
it'll
the
be
sports
okay.
industry.
Well, it's okay.
Every
like you're going to be okay. So
possibility
she went
is-
and saw a doctor.
Well, I
friend
went
of
to
ours.
my eye doctor,
Yeah.
Dr. K, who's an amazing eye doctor surgeon, and he said, come in and let me check you out. And my sister took off from work that day because my sister is the best sister in the world. And she said, I'll stay with you. So she came over and she stayed with us. And then she said, I'll drive you. So we went to the doctor and he checked me out. I had to do all these things to see if I had a concussion. And he said he could tell everything by looking in your eyes. And he looked in my eyes. He gave me a thorough exam. And he said, you don't have anything head-wise. It's just you really hurt your nose. Then I went over to our friend, the plastic surgeon, Dr. Farouz, who happened to be on the same floor, and he looked at me and he checked it out. And he said, no. He said, I think you just chipped a piece in your nose, a bone, but it'll heal. He said, you don't need plastic surgery. I was hoping maybe I'd get a nose job out of it, but I did not break my nose.
You don't need a nose job.
Well,
she did not break her nose.
I didn't break my nose.
And by one-ish, I had resolved that everything was going to be okay, that there had been some overreaction, even though she got busted.
The blood, again, was in the kitchen floor. It was bad.
Severe.
And I threw out the sweatpants I had on. I threw out the sneakers because I just did not want any part of the bad karma.
Jinx.
Yeah, jinx.
Okay.
But every time, this is the truth, two things that I never forget doing. Every time I'm in the kitchen and I cut my lean cuisine pizza, I think about that moment and I'm really careful. And every morning, my hand to God, that when I open the door and I let Hazel out to pee, I walk back 2 times sometimes to make sure the alarm is off. I do. I've never, ever, knock wood, did that again.
All right. So by 1 o'clock, I decided, I wanted to go to a movie because I had a rare day off, rare Friday off.
You got a hard day there. Considering you're standing from the outside looking at the person who has the problem.
This is where I get low marks as a husband because I'm not going to honor your injury the rest of the day. And I wanted her to go. And I finally said, well, if you can't go, I'm going to go because the Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade had just opened at the theaters up in the mall not far from us. I said, well, I just want to see it. I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones fan, but it's the last one. He had to get out of his
head. It was just too much trauma.
Yeah, just too much trauma. So I went by myself to Indiana Jones. And
Thank God I was
liked it. I enjoyed it.
Misery by myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we survived.
We did survive.
And God bless all the victims of the fires because some people have actually lost their lives. They said they found one man with his garden hose in his hand who had been burned to death, and pets lost their lives.
A little bit of lightness compared to what.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of movies, there are certain movies that Ernestine just won't watch with me.
Yes, that's true.
Even though I think she has a hypocritical double standard because she's always saying, it's too bloody for me. And then
I don't like blood. I'm sorry, I don't like blood.
But if she likes The Star, if she likes Keanu Reeves and John Wick, then it doesn't matter how bloody it is. She just rolls with the blood because it's about Keanu, right?
Yeah.
If it's Sylvester Stallone in Tulsa King and it gets really gory, bloody at some points, who cares? It's not that big a deal because it's Stallone.
Yeah. Die Hard. I like Die Hard. We've watched it 8 billion times.
Yeah, and it's because that is the essence of Bruce Willis.
And I like Alexander Goodenough.
And Goodenough, yeah, she loves him. Okay, so if it's a hot guy, it's okay.
Yeah.
If it's not a hot guy, if it's no actor
I don't see
she knows, then it's too bloody.
Well, you thrive on. We'll say, okay, what are we going to watch on TV? I automatically go for something nice and fun and light.
Hallmark Channel.
Yeah, Hallmark Channel.
And I'm not going to watch
HGTV.
Some romantic movie.
You don't want anything romantic.
Yeah.
You automatically go for, this is about, the Holocaust or this is about World War II. I don't want to watch that. It's so depressing. I can appreciate the movie, but it's
it's entertaining because it's done so beautifully.
I know, but you need to get out of your head. That's what movies are. Movies are escape from the world.
Okay, which brings me to last week's movie, Nosferatu. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. It's the new vampire movie that is getting a lot of Oscar buzz. It's a fairly faithful remake of the cult classic Nosferatu. I think it was 1922. It was called A Symphony of Horror. This is by Robert Eggers, who's an artiste. And I said, I just want to go experience it. I can't recommend it, though it got very positive reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. We always check.
With Lily Rose Depp.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp's daughter.
Yeah. And who else do you know?
And,
That Holt.
Is it Jonathan?
I don't know.
I can't remember his first name.
Yeah, I don't love him, but whatever.
I like him too.
Okay.
He's really good.
She thinks he is kind of
He's
a hot
adorable.
guy. Yeah, he's
adorable.
Not a hot guy. He's just adorable. Nicholas Holt. Yeah, there you go. So she told me right away, no way am I doing Nosferatu.
Well, that's because Tyler, our executive producer and friend, he knows that I don't like horror movies and I don't like bloody movies. And he said immediately, oh, I love this movie. It's the best movie I've seen. It's so great, but don't take Ernestine because this is not an Ernestine movie.
So,
but I felt bad that you were going to go by yourself.
The way my relationship works is if I pose something to her one moment of one day, she'll immediately say, no, there's no way. But if I let it just
let it settle
for overnight and she thinks it through and
the Jewish mother
guilt kicks in.
Yes.
And then the next morning, oftentimes she'll say, okay.
Well, I can hear my mother saying to me, you're going to let him go by himself? Just go. What is it? It's not a big deal. Just go with him.
Okay. So she went with me, to her credit.
I did.
And
I told Tyler before, well, I could use a good sleep. I said, I'll just nap in the movie theater for a while.
Okay. It wasn't as bloody as I thought it was going to be.
It wasn't as bad.
And we don't want to give anything away if you haven't seen it and you plan to. I would recommend it, but I didn't love it. I just liked it.
Yeah.
I would give it a B. You didn't like it even to the B status, right? Okay.
It wasn't my cup of tea.
Okay. And yet Ernestine did have a good point because Lily Rose Depp she's going to get nominated for this.
Probably,
but it has shades of, if you remember was it a 70s movie? The Exorcist.
Linda Blair.
Yeah, Linda Blair is possessed by the devil and Lily Rose is possessed by a vampire.
Right, you have to go see it. Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me, but.
Okay.
But it was shot beautifully.
She is contorting it in certain moments like Linda Blair. It's like you have to watch her go through, like she needs an exorcism because she did. Okay.
But cinematography is beautiful.
It's stunning.
And
the art
Willem Dafoe is in it, Willem Dafoe is one of the best actors, in my opinion, ever.
And he plays the professor, the skeptic, who's trying to alert everyone. This is actually, we have a vampire problem.
Yeah.
Okay, my problem with it is, without spoiling it and giving anything away, I am a student of vampire movies, and I don't know.
He must be part of vampire.
I don't know why, but I'm fascinated by the myth of the vampire and the mystique of the vampire.
You and Anne Rice.
Yeah, me and Anne Rice. Maybe I'll write the Vampire Chronicles. But the problem with Nosferatu is all the rules are different for vampires, and I don't understand it because none of the usual rules apply.
They wear a cape.
Yeah,
doesn't a vampire wear a cape?
Plus they have fangs, and incisor fangs that not here. You bite the neck instead of the chest. This is biting the chest, which I don't really get. And the whole idea of once bitten by a vampire, you turn.
Yeah,
you turn into a vampire, but that rule doesn't apply.
Yeah, but we love True Blood was the best TV series ever. If you never watched True Blood, you should watch True Blood with Anna Paquin and I'm blanking out his name, Stephen Moyer, her husband in real life. Mm-hmm. That was one of the best TV series ever.
And Skarsgård.
And that was and Skarsgård. Yeah. And that was really scary. And very true.
But you loved it. And it was extremely bloody, but you were cool with it because you thought Stephen Moyer was hot.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go again. Double standard. Yeah. Right?
And Skarsgård, yeah.
Okay. So we made it through successfully Nosferatu. And I wanted to thank you publicly. You went with me.
That's
and
true.
I appreciated it because I wasn't sitting back in the corner
I
of the
felt
movie
bad.
theater with
he's gonna go by
sunglasses on. Yeah. Okay.
Whatever.
So
it was entertaining.
I would
definitely
and then I told her that Willem Dafoe actually played in what's almost a spoof of Nosferatu. It's a movie within a movie that was made in 2000 called Shadow of the Vampire, and Willem Dafoe plays this Count Auric, the vampire.
It's really good.
And it's really good because the idea is that John Malkovich is this crazed director who decides it's actually the guy who shot Nosferatu in 1922.
Yeah.
But he's using a real vampire, and the other actors don't understand.
They don't know.
This guy is the real
He's
Count
real.
Oric. He's actually a vampire who will suck your blood.
Right. It's very good.
So we watched it, and we enjoyed it more than we enjoyed Robert Eggers' new Nosferatu.
This is really a good movie.
Okay, there we go.
Amazon.
Right.
Didn't you Amazon?
Amazon Prime, yes. Prime. We did. Okay, let's try another question, please, from Ronan from Farmington, Connecticut. Ernestine, thank you for sharing all that you did about the death of your mom. Very powerful. Skip, you've talked numerous times about the relationship you had with your mother. What was it like for you handling her death? Well, I did mention last week when you were talking about your mother, I just wasn't that close to my mom. And I couldn't work up huge emotion over her passing. So it shocked me when I got the text from my brother that she had passed. And she'd been sick for quite a while. I was shocked. You weren't home at that time. No. I called you.
I was driving on the street.
Yeah. I hope you were driving on the street as opposed to on the moon.
Yeah, I was driving. I was driving.
And I broke down and I cried for like 5 minutes, like uncontrollably. And it shocked me because I didn't have that kind. But it was just that.
Well, you're real. I mean, it is a real emotion.
But a phase of my life had just ended because I was always cognizant of her presence and tried to make her as happy as I could. And then we would go visit, and she and I would immediately clash, and I would say, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, but she's still your mother. Yeah. My mother, who was the best mother in the world,
she was, my mother
would
also.
always say to me.
She was like my mother.
She was like your mother. But she would always say to me about you, it doesn't matter if you get along with her or not. The bottom line is she's still your mother no matter anything.
Yeah.
So that's why you still have a connection. It's not like you were brought up in the woods by Cujo. Yeah. You were brought up by this woman, whether good or bad, but she was still your mother.
I think I was brought up in the woods by Cujo,
Maybe.
But I would like to take this opportunity to say that in a shock to me on Saturday, I woke up to a text from my brother, and I'm not close to him. My sister has passed, God rest her soul. But we had a broken home, and I got a scholarship to go away to Vanderbilt, and I just left, and I left them in a mess with my mother and my father, both alcohol victims. And I just wasn't ever close to my brother, sister, mother, or father. I just had to go it alone, and I was the oldest, and so I just took off and said, I'm out. And I never looked back.
Right.
And my brother and I have had a hard relationship because we just have next to nothing in common. He's a restaurateur. He's a famous chef in Chicago. Obama loves his restaurant. It's Obama's favorite restaurant, Topolobampo. And the Frontera Grill, and he has many other restaurants. He's had some successful LA restaurants, but we just haven't remained close. But I always say publicly when people ask me, I don't hate him. I love him, and I'm very proud of him. I just don't have anything in common. But he, like a lot of our friends, reached out to see if we were safe from the fires.
But you don't have to have something in common. My sister and I, we don't have everything in common.
Yeah, you do. You have a lot.
No, we don't have everything in common, but
You talk to her 29 times a day.
I do. That was the way I was always with my mother also, was my mother, my sister, myself. I have a brother, but I'm not very close to my brother. But even though you're not close with Rick, he's still your brother. Yeah. And you still were raised with him, and he's a couple of years younger than you.
So did my heart good. We had a great text exchange, and we resolved that maybe we should try to catch up by phone.
That's so nice.
Sometime this week.
It's wonderful.
And it was a good exchange, and I did tell him I loved him.
That's great.
Because I do. And I did tell him that every time I pray for him and his well-being, and his wife, Deanne, his daughter, Lainey, who's now, I'd lost touch, but we were going back and forth on text. She now has 2 kids. So one
great.
Good thing came from the fires for me is that I reconnected with my brother. So I do appreciate that. This is Rachel from Evanston, Illinois, who says, we know how much Skip loves his Jordans, do I? Ernestine, what are your quote-unquote Jordans?
Well, I don't have Jordans, number one.
She has no Jordans.
I have no Jordans. I don't like heavy sneakers.
I think I'm up around 70 pairs.
You have a ton of Jordans. Yeah. I don't like sneakers that when I lift your sneakers up, it's like I'm using weights. It's ridiculous. And plus, I walk so much.
Some of the ones weigh like 4 pounds of shoe.
Yeah, but when I walk, because I walk a lot to Beverly Hills, which is my town.
Yeah, she's
I'm
the
a
mayor
New Yorker,
of Beverly Hills. Yeah,
I like to walk, even though I have a car, but I'd rather walk than to drive. I wear, I have those ons. I like ons, and I like, I don't know. I don't care about sneakers that much.
Uggs.
But
you got a lot of Uggs.
Yeah,
I think they've ruined your feet because I think they have no stability.
Uggs have no support. But the thing I like jeans. I have a lot of jeans.
And I don't get it because
jeans to me, again, I'm small. I'm 96 pounds. Okay, so when you're small, you have to get the right fitting jean, and I'm always in the search of the right fitting jean. Now I like low waisted jeans because I'm not that tall. I'm 5'4.5", 5'5". So I can't wear a jean that some woman 5'10" can wear and it looks great. And I don't like high waisted jeans. It cuts me. So I'm always looking for the low waisted jeans. So I have about, honestly, like 80 pairs of jeans.
And I don't get it because every other day I say, what's that box that just got delivered? It's just a pair of jeans.
Because they have to fit, and then if they don't fit, then they go to the back of my closet. I rotate my jeans.
You know how many pair of jeans I have in my closet?
You don't care about jeans. You have like 4 pairs of jeans.
Maybe 4. I've got some other, they're like golf.
Yeah, but those aren't
pants.
jeans. I'm talking
they're not jeans. I think I have 3 pair of jeans.
Yeah, and then I just bought 80. I bought you for Christmas.
She did.
Well, Hazel bought you some Levi's, and they fit you well.
And
Levi's
they do.
Yeah, but anyway, back to me. The jeans.
I think she bought me the Christmas presents to make her feel less guilty about 80 pair of jeans. Yeah, I bought them so I could buy more jeans.
I love jeans, so I'm still in search of jeans. And the only other obsession I have it's for a pink lipstick. I have 1,000 pink lipsticks because I'm always in search of. I like the 1960s. If anybody knows who Nancy Sinatra is, they'd have to Google her and look her up. But the 60s had really cool frosted pink lipsticks, and they don't make them. So I try to find the perfect pink lipstick, and I always buy the same lipstick. Sometimes I have 3 of the same lipsticks at home because I forget I had that. So I'm always looking for the perfect pink lipstick.
Yeah.
So it's jeans
Hundreds of pink lipsticks because there's not the perfect one that has ever been purchased.
No, it's like my hair.
So once again,
always have to get the right color. I'm still in search of the right color.
80 pair of jeans. You got on a pair of jeans right now, but you don't wear them that much.
I wear jeans almost every single day.
You do? I didn't notice.
He's like on another planet. Yeah.
Oh, we better change the subject.
I think you better
this is from
realize
YouTube.
I live in the house with you.
Yeah, you do. This house, half
You're too
this house
focused on Hazel.
is jeans. Hey, you gotta wait. You gotta wait. This is from @JohnCurtis6988. Does Skip really believe Ernestine is a jinx? Yeah.
Oh, please. Does he believe
to teams he's never rooted for before?
Yeah.
This guy is insane.
Thank you.
I am not insane.
So very much.
And by the way,
that is the bottom line. See,
she did it again on Saturday.
Oh, this is just the
first NFL game, playoff game of the year was earlier Saturday, the afternoon game. It was early out here. I think it started at 1:30 out here.
He jinxed himself. It wasn't even me. Okay, you jinxed yourself.
Okay. But it's the Chargers, who I like because I like Jim Harbaugh, at the Houston Texans.
Right.
Chargers are slight favorites.
Right.
So I'd already picked the Chargers to win that game and to be on such a roll. They were going up to Kansas City and knock Mahomes and Kelsey and Andy Reid out of the playoffs because they have been so lucky at home that their luck would run out and Jim Harbaugh would make another Coach of the Year statement.
Right.
How wrong I was.
Right.
So fairly early in the game, the Chargers are pretty much in command, and they're up 7-0.
Right.
And they have pinned C.J. Stroud and company back up against their goal line. And at this very moment, you came home from wherever you had been.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Eventually, I have to walk back in the house.
Okay, but you had gone running errands.
I went somewhere,
And I jinxed myself because
that's
I
what
made
I'm
the mistake.
You jinxed yourself. It wasn't me.
I
didn't tell you to come out of the room.
I was in my man cave watching this game, and I'm rooting for the Chargers, and it looks like the Chargers are pretty in control of the game.
Yeah.
And
he opens the door and he comes out.
I open the door
and he goes, "Oh, you're back?"
I said, "Oh, you're back."
And he goes, "Oh God, oh my God!"
Wait a second. I heard the scream of the announcer, and I ran back inside and looked around the corner just in time.
God, my team is now losing.
What happened
It
was
wasn't my fault. Who tells you to come out?
the ball got snapped prematurely and went right by the face mask of C.J. Stroud, and it's just loose on the ground at the goal line. And for a flash, it looked like it's about to be 14-0, right?
Blame him.
It's about
He's
to be
the one that screwed up.
Okay,
Not
but
me.
then
I came home.
he didn't screw up because he scooped up the football and he rolled to his right, and all of a sudden he throws like a 50-yard strike for not only a first down, but they are out of jail on the roll, and they never looked back.
Right, but
I think it was 6-0. It was 6-0. It was about to be 13-0. Yeah.
How can I jinx a team that you don't even care about?
Okay.
You jinxed yourself. I did not call ahead and say, "Hey, when I come in the door, can you please come and greet me?"
I was trying to be a good husband.
Oh my God! You just
hey,
you didn't
how
know,
are you?
You were not.
I opened the door to the jinx.
You opened the door to see that.
It just
are you
flew
back?
in like a vampire, and it bit me right in the neck.
I live here. I had to come home.
From that moment, it was 6-0 visiting team, LA Chargers. From that moment on, they got outscored 32-6 from that moment on. Okay.
So then it was a reverse jinx? I don't know.
No.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I lost.
Oh.
And not only did I lose, I looked like an utter fool.
So you think that if you did not open the door to say, "Oh, you're home," your whole game would change. You would have been fine and dandy.
And yes, I would have been fine. I opened the door and I ruined the game that was happening in Houston, Texas, which is like 1,500 miles from here. But that's what happened. A butterfly flaps its wings in the forest. And that's what happened.
Insane.
And by the way, the previous jinx, which was one of the all-time classics. No, I don't like Arizona State, so I'm not insane. I don't root for Arizona State. I have no stake, except I had picked them to cover a 13.5 point spread against Texas. And then once they got to overtime, I'm rooting for them to beat Texas, your school, quote unquote, because you have a Texas hat that you used to wear, which I brought to you from Austin when we took our show there.
It's my team, but I did wear the hat for a while.
Okay, but I hate Texas because I grew up as an Oklahoma Sooner fan. I hate Texas and I want to see Texas lose. So I had a huge stake in that game, and you jinxed it. You opened the door at the magic moment when it was 4th and 13, and Quinn Ewers, who has a propensity for throwing it to the wrong team at the wrong time, as we saw the other night, he throws a 28-yard touchdown pass in overtime to save the game, save the day, to tie the score in overtime.
This is what I don't understand. Why don't you blame these guys, these football players? They're the ones that are the reason why your teams lose.
No, utter jinx.
Why don't you blame them?
Okay.
You have like a manhood with them or something? They're the guys that are losing the game. They're getting paid millions of dollars to lose, and so blame them.
Now the college kids are getting paid millions of dollars. Yeah, there you go.
Back to my problem.
Okay, this is Lewis from Washington, D.C. You two always talk about arguments you have, but when's the last time you two 100% agreed on something? Wow. That's a good question.
We agree a lot on things.
We do?
We agree that we disagree.
We agree that we disagree.
We agree on TV shows.
You know, we do have
music.
A lot of TV shows that we do like, and we do like Landman.
Food.
We're slowly being pulled into Landman. We both know Billy Bob very well. We've got one more. We haven't watched it yet. It was on Sunday night, but we'll watch it soon.
Yeah.
And we know Billy. We love him. Yeah. And I think he's been sensational in this.
It's amazing.
He got nominated for a Golden Globe. Didn't win, but he got nominated.
Yeah.
And yet we both agree that we don't like the female characters in this.
That's us.
Okay. And we mostly agree.
We agree on
a lot of shows. We like Lioness. It's another Taylor Sheridan, but we both like that. Tulsa King. You like it more than I do because you love Stallone, but I liked it. So
I Love Lucy.
Okay.
Woody Allen.
I'm glad you brought up I Love Lucy because she is the real life Lucy Ricardo. If you know the show,
compliment I could ever get.
And I get thrust into the Ricky role because my house is lunacy 24 hours. It's always something with I cut my finger off, I smash my nose, I need surgery.
It's not always medical issues with me.
There are a lot of them.
I could count on really one hand all the medical issues I've ever had since you've known me.
It's always a crisis.
No, it's always me
chaos.
Coming up with my brain never stops working, so I'm always active. It's in my head. I come up with ideas for everything.
Yeah,
I'm very
you
creative.
are the female Woody Allen, and I do love Woody Allen movies.
Love
and
Woody Allen.
In our first bond, the first night we talked on the phone was over I Love Lucy, which I do love.
Right.
Not that I live it like you do.
No.
You have all kinds of Lucy paraphernalia and mementos.
I love Lucy.
And yes, you do. You are the female. I mean, you're the real life Lucy Ricardo. And we bonded over Woody Allen movies, and she was shocked that a guy from Oklahoma City would like Woody Allen. Well, he's just a genius. He's just an artiste. And you can say some of the movies are the same, but they're all really good.
I don't think any of his movies are the same. I love every single movie Woody has done, except I'm not a big fan of September, because that was a depressing one.
Yeah.
And the one that you liked with Cate Blanchett, wasn't that Woody Allen?
No.
What was the one called Cate Blanchett?
Remember? We disagree on what it was.
Wasn't it a Woody Allen? I thought Woody Allen did a Cate Blanchett one.
Well, he's done Cate Blanchett. Oh, I know.
It was the one where it was depressing. Blue Dahlia.
No, wasn't it's not Dahlia.
No, Blue something. Blue Jasmine.
Blue Jasmine. There you go.
Wasn't that a Woody Allen?
Yes, it was.
I didn't like that.
You didn't. You thought it was too depressing.
That was very depressing.
Well,
I don't like depressing.
She was so good.
I think we agree. Okay, we disagree, but I think everybody out there has the same situation as us, except we don't know what they disagree with their partners about. I don't think that we really have such crazy disagreements. Maybe about sports stuff.
That we disagree.
But I think everybody has the same issues with their partner and
finally, we did grow up with the same music. We like 60s rock and roll. We like the Beatles and Rolling Stones.
I love Sinatra.
She's got the old soul that I don't. I don't go that far. I like Sinatra, but you live for Sinatra.
I love anything from the 40s and the 50s, and I love old movies.
I think you're actually way older than you've told me that you are.
Maybe I'm 100.
She's 10 years younger than me.
Maybe I'm a vampire.
She might be a vampire.
Could be.
Maybe that's why you didn't want to go see Nosferatu, because it was too real.
I recognized him as my relative.
Right. Count Auric is your...
He was my brother.
Was your father, maybe.
Or uncle.
Or your uncle.
Uncle Orlick.
I think we're going to have to leave it right there. That is it for round 7 of Skip versus Ernestine. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all your questions and all your comments. We will see you next week.
Stay safe, everyone.
If we're still
speaking.
Stay
Love
safe.
you. Peace out.